It started with a misplaced trust, the kind you extend to someone who shares your ramen noodles and late-night study sessions. Her name was Sarah, or so I thought. We were college roommates, two broke students dreaming of escaping our cramped dorm and building a life. I was naive, trusting. Sarah was something else entirely. I remember the day the first credit card bill arrived. It wasn't mine. A store card, the kind I'd never apply for. I dismissed it as a mistake, a wrong address. Then came another, and another. Each one a slow, creeping realization that something was terribly wrong. Sarah swore she didn't know anything about it, eyes wide with practiced innocence. I wanted to believe her. We were friends, weren't we? The truth unraveled slowly, painfully. Applications with my name, my social security number, my signature, all fraudulent. Sarah had opened credit cards in my name, maxed them out, and vanished like smoke in the wind. The damage was catastrophic. My credit score plummeted, my future plans crumbled. I spent months fighting the charges, filling out police reports, and drowning in paperwork. The police investigation went nowhere. Sarah, whoever she really was, had covered her tracks well. The financial institutions weren't much help either. Their fraud departments were as helpful as a screen door on a submarine. Anger turned to resentment and then to an icy, patient rage. I promised myself that someday, somehow, I would find her. I would make her pay for what she'd done. It became an obsession, a shadow that followed me through years of rebuilding my life. I worked tirelessly to repair my credit, taking on extra jobs, living frugally. The dream of home ownership and financial security felt distant, almost impossible, but I refused to let her win. Years passed. I finished college, got a decent job, and started to piece my life back together. But the burning desire for revenge never faded. I spent countless hours searching online, scouring social media and running background checks, all while trying to keep this hidden side of myself from the people around me. My friends thought I was just a hard worker with a strange fixation on financial security. They didn't know the darkness that simmered beneath the surface. Then, one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, I found her. A name I didn't recognize, a different state, a new life, but the face was unmistakable. Sarah. Or whoever she was now pretending to be. A wave of adrenaline washed over me, a mixture of triumph and a chilling certainty. The game was on. Her new name was Olivia, and she was living in a small, affluent town a few states away. A quick online search revealed a meticulously crafted persona. Happily married, active in the local community, involved in charity work. It made my blood boil. She was living the life I should have had, built on a foundation of lies and stolen identity. I knew I couldn't just confront her. That would be too easy, too messy. I needed to be methodical, calculated. I needed to dismantle her life piece by piece the same way she had dismantled mine. The first step was information. I needed to know everything about Olivia, her friends, her job, her husband, her secrets. I created a fake social media profile, carefully curating an image of a successful businesswoman new to the area. I friended her acquaintances, joined local online groups, and started gathering information. It was surprisingly easy. People are trusting, eager to connect. They shared details about Olivia's life without a second thought. I learned that she worked as a real estate agent, a profession built on trust and reputation. Her husband, Mark, was a successful lawyer. They had a beautiful house, a meticulously manicured lawn, and a seemingly perfect life. The contrast with my own struggles was infuriating. My plan began to take shape. I wouldn't resort to violence or anything that would land me in jail. My revenge would be subtle, insidious. I would expose her lies, ruin her reputation, and watch her carefully constructed world crumble around her. I was going to take back what she stole from me, and then some. My first target was her career. As a real estate agent, Olivia's reputation was everything. I started by spreading subtle rumors among her clients, hinting at financial irregularities, questioning her ethics. I used my fake social media profile to post vague complaints about her services, suggesting she wasn't trustworthy. I made sure the comments were seen by the right people, potential clients, colleagues, her boss. The rumors started to spread like wildfire. People began to question her integrity, to doubt her motives. Deals fell through, clients went elsewhere, her sales numbers plummeted, and her boss started to take notice. I could almost taste the sweet tang of justice as her professional life began to unravel. It was a slow burn, but it was working. Next, I focused on her social life. I learned that Olivia was deeply involved in local charity work. Using her position to network and build connections, I decided to expose her past, to reveal the truth about her stolen identity. I anonymously sent copies of the old police reports and credit card statements to key members of the charity organization. I also included a brief typed letter explaining that Olivia was a fraud, living under a stolen identity. The reaction was swift and brutal. Olivia was ostracized, shunned by her friends and colleagues. She was asked to step down from her charity work, her reputation in tatters. The once perfect image she had so carefully cultivated was shattered. I watched from the shadows, savoring every moment of her downfall. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and deeply satisfying. But I knew I couldn't stop there. I needed to go further to ensure she could never hurt anyone again. This was no longer about revenge, it was about justice. My final act of revenge was the most calculated, the most dangerous. I decided to expose her fraudulent identity to the authorities. I gathered all the evidence I had collected over the years, the old police reports, the credit card statements, the documents I'd found online connecting her to her real name. I consulted with a lawyer, carefully explaining my situation and my desire to see justice done. The lawyer was hesitant at first, warning me about the risks involved. But I was determined. I wanted Olivia to face the consequences of her actions, to be held accountable for the damage she had caused. My lawyer agreed to help, but only if I remained completely anonymous. He filed a report with the relevant authorities, presenting the evidence and requesting an investigation into Olivia's fraudulent identity. The investigation was swift and thorough. The authorities quickly confirmed that Olivia was indeed living under a stolen identity, that she had a long history of fraud and deceit. She was arrested and charged with identity theft, fraud, and other related crimes. The news of her arrest sent shockwaves through the community. Her husband, Mark, was devastated, blindsided by the revelation that his wife was a fraud. He filed for divorce, his reputation tarnished by her actions. Olivia's world had completely collapsed. She had lost her job, her friends, her husband, and her freedom. She was facing serious prison time, all because of her past actions. I watched it all unfold from a distance, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over me. The trial was a media circus. Olivia, desperate to avoid prison, tried to claim that she had been forced into identity theft by a criminal organization. But the evidence against her was overwhelming. The jury found her guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to several years in prison. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. During the trial, Olivia's real identity was finally revealed. Her name wasn't Sarah, as I had always believed. It was Jessica Carter, the same name as mine. It turned out that she had stolen my identity first, years before we even met. She had used my name to obtain a fake ID, to open bank accounts, to create a new life for herself. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I had spent years seeking revenge on someone who had stolen my identity, only to discover that she had been living under my stolen identity all along. It was a bizarre, ironic twist of fate. To make matters even stranger, because of the prior fraud, using my identity, Olivia, now going by her real alias, Jessica Carter, had priors under my name. The judge, seeing the previous convictions attached to the alias, threw the book at her. She was facing significantly more jail time than she would have had she'd just been honest about her identity from the beginning. I don't think she expected this. I watched her face crumble when the full weight of the sentence was read out. In a final act of desperation, she started yelling my name, pointing at me in the courtroom. "She's the real Jessica! She framed me!" The bailiffs quickly restrained her and dragged her away. Her words echoed in the courtroom, a chilling reminder of the tangled web of lies and deceit that had consumed our lives. Now, I was left to pick up the pieces. The aftermath of the trial was surreal. I was thrust into the spotlight, a reluctant victim of identity theft and a key witness in a high-profile case. The media was relentless, eager to tell my story. I gave a few interviews, carefully controlling the narrative and focusing on the importance of protecting oneself from identity theft. The silver lining was that Olivia's arrest and conviction finally cleared my name. The fraudulent credit card charges were removed from my credit report, my credit score soared, and I was able to finally put the past behind me. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, a burden I had carried for far too long. I used the media attention to advocate for stronger laws and better protection for victims of identity theft. I spoke at conferences, testified before legislative committees, and worked with nonprofit organizations to raise awareness about the issue. I wanted to help others avoid the pain and suffering I had endured. I also started to focus on rebuilding my personal life. I reconnected with old friends, pursued new hobbies, and started dating again. I was cautious, hesitant to trust, but I refused to let the past define me. I was determined to create a happy, fulfilling life for myself, one free from the shadows of revenge and deceit. It wasn't easy. The scars of the past remained, a constant reminder of the damage that Sarah, or rather Jessica Carter, had inflicted. But I refused to let her win. I was stronger, more resilient, and more determined than ever to live my life to the fullest. Today, I live a quiet, fulfilling life. I own my own home, have a successful career, and am surrounded by loving friends and family. The past is still there, a part of my story, but it no longer defines me. I have learned to forgive, not for Olivia's sake, but for my own. I often think about her, about the choices she made and the path she took. I wonder if she ever truly understands the damage she caused, if she ever regrets her actions. I hope that she finds some measure of peace in prison, that she uses her time to reflect on her mistakes and to make amends for her past. But most of all, I am grateful. Grateful for the lessons I have learned, for the strength I have found, and for the opportunity to rebuild my life. I am a survivor, a fighter, and a testament to the power of resilience. And in the end, that is the most satisfying revenge of all.